So today I'm going to show you 4 different methods, and they're just different ways to think about the problem. Okay, so you can choose whichever one you want, and there's not actually going to be a lot of work to show this chapter. Okay, so don't worry about showing a lot of work, but this will be a good way for us to kind of like set ourselves with a good base, a good foundation on what's going on here. Okay, so let's start with method 1, which is using counters. And if you have multiple colors nearby, that might be helpful. You just need 2. Okay, so let's start with a real easy problem. -3 plus -2. So you're dealing with negative numbers now, right? And -3 plus a -2. All right, now it's weird because you have a plus, you have a negative. Notice I put parentheses around the second number. That way, it just makes sure you know that the 2 is negative. Sometimes people get confused between a minus sign and a negative sign. They're basically the same, but it's just like this negative belongs there. We don't need it for the -3 because there's nothing else there. So I know that this minus belongs to the 3. Okay, so when we talk about counters, basically we're saying this. I'm going to use red for negative. Okay, basically I'm saying, okay, I start with 3 negative pieces. Okay, and if you are someone who's visual or even like you like the touch, you can actually make these no problem, right? You just use different things around your house. Different colored M&Ms are represent, one's positive, one's negative, or paper clips and pencil, like whatever you have around you can be your counters. Okay, we're going to add that to 2 more negatives, -2. All right, and then we just put them together. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 total. So if I have 3 negatives and I add 2 more negative counters, then I end up with a total of 5 negative. Does that make sense? Yeah, pretty simple, right? Now, where it gets tricky is what if I have like a positive and I have a negative, right? Like a positive and a negative. So let's do a problem like that. So let's say I had this. Let's say I had -6 plus a positive 5. So let's go ahead and draw that out with the counters, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 negatives. And I have 5. I'm gonna put in a different color. 5 positive. So 1, 2, 4, and 5. All right, so here's the important part is understanding that a negative and a positive are going to cancel out and make a 0. We call that a 0 pair, right? So if you think about it, right, this negative and this positive cancel out. They make 0. Yeah? That means that this negative and this positive cancel out and they make 0 also. This negative cancels with this one cancels with this negative cancels with this positive. So what do we have left, right? You look and you see, what do I have left? What do I have remaining? Well, I've just got one red one remaining, which means my answer is -1. That make sense? So this counters, it's good, it's good because it gives you a visual of what's happening here. These numbers are canceling each other out, and then whatever is left, whatever remains, is you're going to be your answer. Now you don't want to do this. You don't want to be like, if I give you, like, 35 plus a negative 52, like, you don't want to have to draw all those circles, but they're just good conceptually for you to understand what is happening here. Okay. So when I say method one, again, this is just like, for some people, it's helpful to kind of picture this idea of things canceling each other out, right? Now, method two is similar to method one. It's just a kind of silly story that I made up to help us remember this, okay? I like to call this the pirates versus ninjas method. And to understand this method, you have to understand history. And you're like, well, Mr. Young, you're not a history teacher. Oh, but this I am. In the history of time, two of the greatest enemies that ever existed were pirates and ninjas. Pirates have, they go and they steal and they plunder and they do all that sort of stuff for their own gain. Ninjas are all about honor and doing things for whoever they're following, and doing things at night and secretly, right? Whereas pirates are going to go and say, I'm just going to steal out in the open, whatever. So they're very much against each other. And here's the deal. Anytime a pirate sees a ninja, they have no choice but to engage in battle, right? Now, why pirates and ninjas? Pirates for positive, ninjas for negative, okay? So anytime a pirate and a ninja see each other, they fight. They fight to the death. The problem is no one wins. They both die. Like, as soon as the pirate takes out his gun and he shoots, the ninja throws his ninja star and he throws, and they hit at the exact same time and they both die. It's very tragic. But that's just how they're built. They have to fight for honor. So this is how the pirates versus ninjas method works. And again, it's just kind of silly. Let's say you had a problem like this. You had 5 positive pirates walking down the street, and then they encounter 3 negative ninjas. What's going to happen? Let's see. So I've got 5 positive pirates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pirates. They're positive. They have eye patches. Don't worry, you don't have to be as fancy drawing as me, but you can. They have those cool pirate hats. Right? All right. 5 positive pirates are going down the street. They're walking, they're having a good time. They're talking about, how fun it was to steal stuff. I don't know what pirates talk about. And then they come across these 3 ninjas. So again, this is basically the counter method, but here's the important part, that why I like pirates and ninjas and gives us this idea of war, okay? Is there's going to be a winner. In these fights, there's always a winner. And whoever the winner is, that's the sign of your answer. So in this case, right? Every pirate and every ninja engage in battle, and they fight to the death. So this guy cancels out this guy. This guy cancels out that guy, and this guy cancels out him. And so you think about it. Who won this fight? Who's still standing? Right? The pirates. How many pirates are left over? Well, there are 2 of them left over. Do you see what I'm saying there? Right? So the question I always want you to ask yourself is, who wins? Who wins, positive or negative? Who wins, the pirates or the ninjas? Right? Sometimes if you struggle with this, I'm going to just ask you a question. Who wins? Who wins this fight? And the winner of the fight will tell you if your answer should be positive or negative. And then the question becomes, how much do they win by? Right? So This is just a silly example, okay? You obviously don't have to like write it down every time and draw these guys because that's a lot of work. But hopefully we get an understanding. So let's do like a bigger problem, for example, right? Let's just say we had negative 21 plus, let's say, 18, okay? So let me ask you this question. Before even doing the problem, who wins? The pirates or the ninjas? The positive or the negative? Who's going to win this battle? Go ahead and put in the chat. Who's going to win this one? The positives or the negatives? The pirates or the ninjas? Who wins this? Who has more? Who has more people? Very good. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Yeah, there's 21 of these guys. There's only 18 of these guys. So the negatives are going to win. So I know my answer is going to be negative. Yeah? And then think about it. They're all going to fight. They're going to fight. They're going to fight. They're going to fight. How many guys are left over? How many of those ninjas are left over after the big fight? Right? How many more do they have? Okay. They have 3 more guys, right? 3 of them don't get in any battle. So again, the method is it's basically just a different way to think about it. I do not want you to have to draw this every time and be like, let me draw this. I want you to be able to go and just think about how it works. Yeah? Okay, so that's method 1 and 2 are basically the same. Method 2 just has kind of a fun twist on it. So if you're kind of like, if you go around and talk about pirates and ninjas, like we'll all understand. No one else will, but that's okay. We can be funny like that. All right. Okay, method 3. Now, method 3 is the one that I think most of you will end up using. And it's technically it's technically called the absolute value method. And there's 2 parts of this. Okay, the first one is this. And we'll spend most time here. First is what we call same sign, add and keep. What this means is if the 2 numbers are the same, you're going to add the numbers together and keep the sign. So if it's a positive and a positive, the answer will be positive. It's a negative and a negative, the answer will be negative when you're adding. Okay. When you have a different sign, you're actually going to subtract and take, I'm going to call it the bigger sign or the winner. Okay. This is a little bit confusing, but don't worry, you'll get it once we do some practice. Same sign, just add them together and keep the sign. Okay. So what does an example of that look like? Let's say, for example, we just have this. -6 plus a -8. So it's called the absolute value method because you basically just look at them as if they're regular absolute values, right? So let's not even look at the negatives at all. Let's just look at them as 6 and 8, right? That's why it's called the absolute value method, because this absolute value of 6 is, or -6 is 6, and the absolute value of -8 is simply 8. And what's 6 plus 8? So if I did absolute value, it would be like that. What's 6 plus 8? Okay, you can do that in your head. Again, no calculators, right? Okay, good. Now the answer is 14. Now the question is, should the answer be positive 14 or negative 14? Well, remember, same side, add and keep, right? So the answer is just negative 14, right? If you want to use our pirates and ninjas example, this would be like 6 ninjas are walking down the street and then they see, or sorry, yeah, ninjas, negatives. 6 ninjas are walking down the street. They see 8 more ninjas and you know what? They say, hey, the more the merrier. And now there's 14 ninjas all hanging out. right? No one cancels out. No one gets in a fight. They're all together. Yeah. Now, the different sign, that's the one that's a little bit harder. And this is where people get mixed up. All right. So 10 plus a negative 14. Okay. So this is what I'm going to do. I see that the signs are different, right? I have a positive 10, right? This is technically a positive 10. We don't put the plus sign, but you can think of it as a positive 10. Okay. So let me rewrite that. And you have a negative 14. So the signs are different. Okay, so then what we're going to do, we're going to subtract the numbers. 14 minus 10. Okay. Just subtract. Bigger minus smaller. But Mr. Leung, you said that the positive number is always greater than the negative. I know, but we just did absolute value. We just said, you know what, let's just look at the numbers as if they were just regular numbers, okay? 14 minus 10 is 4, yeah? Okay, now here's the question. Who wins? Positive or negative? Who would have won this fight? What do you guys think? Should it be a positive 4 or a negative 4? Who wins the fight? If I had positive 10 and a negative 14, who wins that fight? All right, thank you guys. Those are put in a chat. Thank you. Right, there's 4 more negative guys, right? So the answer is negative 4. That makes sense? Right? Don't they win? Right? If you were to get if 10 pirates got in a fight with 14 ninjas, wouldn't the ninjas have more people at the end? Okay. All right. Let me give you guys one more of those just so you guys can do it, and see if you can give me just the answer, please. Okay. Okay. Go ahead and do that one. Put the answer in the chat. Thank you, Madeline. Thank you, Andres. Yep. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Jinfeng. Thank you, Chris. All right, excellent, right? So this is how I would do it in my head. I'm thinking about, and again, you don't really have to show a lot of work on these. There's not a lot of work to show. That's okay. But this is what I'm thinking in my head. I'm thinking, well, the signs are different. So I'm just going to do 16 minus 9, which gives me 7. And then I think, okay, who wins? Oh, well, the 16 won. So that's it. Positive 7. The positive ones, the pirates won. Yeah? Okay. Last method. And the reason I'm showing you guys 4 different ways to do this is because we all think differently. Yeah, there's lots of different ways. However you want to think about it in your head, that's fine, as long as you're kind of understanding this. But what I want you to really get is the contrast between the positive and the negative and how they cancel out. Okay, the last one, method 4, is called the number line method. Okay, negative 3 plus 2. So we want to picture this on a number line. And what you have to understand for a number line is when you add a positive, you go to the right. When you add a negative, you go to the left. That makes sense, right? More negatives go to the left. So I'll write that out really quick. If you add a plus, you go to the right. If you add a negative, you go to the left, okay? So here we go. Let's draw a little number line here. You don't need that many numbers here. 0, -1, -2, -3, -4. All right, so we always think about 0 first, and then let's go to that first number, -3. So you can go all the way here to -3. So I'm starting at -3. And then after I'm at -3, I need to go +2. So 1, 2. Right? So you can kind of picture the idea of like going in one direction and going the other direction, right? Negatives take me to the left, positives take me to the right. Yeah. Negatives take me to the left, positive take me to the right. And so where do I end up after all this? I end up right here at -1. Does that make sense? Pretty clear? Okay. Look, all four of these methods do the exact same thing. Okay. And again, I don't want you to have to draw out every time all the different ways, but for some of us, it might be helpful to kind of see these visuals, to kind of see the ways that the numbers move, because it's tricky. Okay. It's trickier than you think. And here's the hard part is that when you're doing a problem, when you're doing problems, you always think you get it right? You always do. You're always like, oh, I got an answer. So we always get it right. So let's just do one really quick. Let me just make sure that we got it. You can use whatever method you want to use in your head. You could draw it out if you want. You can draw counters. You can think about this epic battle of pirates and ninjas fighting out on a great battlefield. However you want to view it, that's fine by me. Okay. But let's just do a problem here. Okay. Let's just say we have this, right? Like -26 plus a +14. Go ahead and put in the chat when you think you got it. Okay, thank you. Good job. Very good. Yep, this one should be -12. Right? One more just because we got a little bit of time here. What if I had something like this? What would that be? All right, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, all right, some of us are a little bit confused on this one. All right, thank you. Okay, this one would be -23. What? Remember, I've got 8 ninjas and 15 more ninjas. Total of 23 ninjas. You guys see that? So I had a lot of people, or a few people, give me -7 there. They think, oh, I have to subtract. See, that's where these things get tricky. Negative numbers don't mean subtract, except for sometimes they do. So it's kind of wild. It's kind of tricky like that. So again, if I want to picture it number line wise, I could think of like, if I'm at -8 here, I need to go backwards 15 more, and I'm going to end up at -23. Right? So it's tricky.